Hello, good morning, everybody. Today we have a very special guest that's going to be hopping on the live, Michael Zuber. He wrote the book One Rental at a Time, and I heard about this book, man, it was probably 2 months ago that I heard about this book. And learned a lot from Michael, and so he's going to be joining us today. So let me... What is up, Michael? How you doing?
Good, Cade. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for joining.
No problem. I look forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've done, local business interviews here in Southern Arizona, and they've been pretty successful just in the fact that people love them, and it brings good exposure to, the local businesses here. So I figured I can start doing something similar to the people that, I admire and follow. And so that's why I asked you on today.
Thank you for the opportunity. This should be fun. I have no idea where the conversation was going, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's great. So it's very laid back, but so Michael, I don't know if you've heard of Cody Davis and Christian Osgood.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm actually a part of their multifamily, group,
Okay.
and actually recommended your book. And so I just finished reading it probably last week, and I gotta say it's probably one of the most honest and real books in investing I've ever read. So I appreciate that greatly.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. I wrote that book for myself. Actually, I didn't think it would be anything. I retired at 45 after 15 or 16 years, and I'm like, how'd we do it? What happened, right? Because I was so focused on the grind, because full-time job, raising a family, real estate was something we did on top of all of that. So I didn't really get to appreciate the journey. So one rental at a time is my honest reflection, the good, bad, and the indifferent about what happened. And oh, by the way, it was pretty exciting. We bought before the crash, in the crash. How'd we survive? What'd we do? A lot of stuff that people enjoy. So yeah, I'm glad it's been so well received.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Do you know just by like how much you've sold, how many books have sold? Is there a way you can track that
Yeah,
or?
I have rough numbers. It's probably 26,000 copies of one rental at a time, it's beyond expectations. The average self-published book sells 100.
Wow.
So we're
That is,
yeah. It still does about 10 books a day. It gets bought
wow.
about 10 books a day.
That is awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I appreciated the fact that in that book there was not really sugarcoating, and you know what I mean? And I appreciated the fact that you took the time to point out, hey, this is my journey. This is
Yeah.
what I did. You're welcome to try anything, but this is what worked for me. So can you maybe tap into that mindset a little bit of why you felt the need to maybe address that way?
Well, I think there's a couple of things. So again, when you get interested in real estate, you do a lot. Well, if you're my age, you do a lot of reading. Today, it's probably podcasts and YouTube. But what we did is we went back and read books, and a lot of the books that I read were just frankly felt disingenuous, right? It felt like they had an ulterior motive, like they were trying to sell you something.
Mm.
And it was very important for me to just, it's not one rental at a time is not a how-to book at all,
Yeah.
right? It's hey, this is what we did. These are the mistakes we made. Some of the mistakes were really, really painful. But here you go. It's not a how-to book. And if you buy one rental at a time looking for a how-to book, you're going to be greatly disappointed. It is somebody who lost $160,000 in the stock market, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and started on a 15 or 16 year journey. So
That's awesome,
it is
man.
what it is.
That is awesome. Yeah, kudos to you. How long does that take, just out of curiosity, to write a book like that?
Well, actually, it's funny. One rental at a time probably took 400 hours all in. The
Wow.
second book I wrote, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, that one probably took 1,000 hours. One
Wow.
rental at a time. Once I started, it just, I mean, I wrote the first draft in probably 15 hours. It just flew out of me. The editing took several hundred hours because I'm not a great writer. If you follow me on Twitter or get an email from me, it's got misspelled words and just all kinds of stuff. So editing was a problem. But yeah, the book, I mean, literally, it felt like somebody else was typing it. It came out so quickly.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, Mike, or do you mind if I call you Mike, or you prefer Michael?
I prefer Zuber, actually.
Okay, Zuber. How many rentals are you at now?
We're over 180.
180. And do you self-manage or do you hire management?
No, if you read the book, we had to pick a market that was 2.5 hours away. And oh, by the way, I had a career that often had me on 2 or 3 different continents a week. So we had to pay property managers since we had a single rental, right? Our first property on Norris Drive had property management day one. So we've never I have no interest in self-managing.
Mm-hmm.
I am not Dion. I have no interest in self-managing.
I hear that. And from what I remember at the end of the book, you mentioned that you were entering potentially a new season of life where you're kind of trying to figure that whole thing out. So I'm not even sure, when did the book come out?
2018.
Okay, so where has that taken you, looking back for the past 5 years now?
That's a good question. So the first thing we did, and I kind of teased it at the end of the book, but we started flipping properties, right? We had never done that, right? Buy and hold day one, right?
Oh, interesting.
But now I got nothing to do all day, right? I no longer have an 80-hour commitment. I have a network. I know the market. So we start flipping properties. If you read the book, I start doing something I coined pride of ownership. So I bought a slumlord property for cash. I fixed it up, and then I sold it to another landlord, right? I was having fun doing that. So we ended up doing, I think we did 56, it might have been 55 flips between 2018 and kind of middle of 2020. So in about 30 months, we did, let's just call it 50 flips, which was great. We made money on all of them, made more money than I expected. But then it got hard, right? Because prices, right? Everybody knows 2020 prices got wild. So if I can't make the spread, if it's not easy, it's not a layup, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to, I'm in capital preservation, not necessarily crazy growth anymore. So, you make $1 million or more than $1 million, it's just extra cash, right? So that was cool. The other thing I did is you write one rental at a time. It becomes an Amazon bestseller like the first 2 months, exceeds all my wildest expectations. And then I'm like, well, I keep getting all these emails because I put my email in the book, right? If you ever wanted my email, it's in the book. And I'm like, damn, I got all these questions. So then I launched the YouTube channel, which is now one rental at a time. Everything I do is one rental at a time, just to answer questions. And, that now has become something I do 5 days a week, a couple hours a day. I talk to millionaires. We're really trying to help people. So everything really started with one rental at a time, the book. But really the mission for me is to change lives for the next 50 years. I've got mine. I have no interest in having 1,000 units. I have no crazy lifestyle. I've already got every financial thing I've ever wanted, right? I became a Golden State Warrior season ticket holder because it was a great goal of mine. I bought the crazy expensive car. I don't have any of these others, so I just keep giving every day, and we'll see what happens. So really post-retirement was writing, flipping, making crazy, stupid money, and then helping others get started. That's been a lot more rewarding. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think it's cool, because I think that because I'm a younger guy, I just turned 22. And I think just like you mentioned, Zuber, that when you're getting started in this real estate thing, specifically investing, it seems like there are so many. Take Grant Cardone, for example, right? Or Brandon Turner, for example, right? Where you come in this game and you're like, holy crap, look at all these guys doing huge, massive stuff. When the reality is you don't have to go that big if you don't want to. I mean, you can make a pretty good living, right, with
Mm-hmm.
100-unit portfolio that you can build over a couple.
I'll even do you one better. Most people, most meaning 90% of the people watching this, their financial future will be ever changed in a much better way with 4 rental properties. 4. You don't even need 10. Just think about 4, right? You're 22 years old. Over the next 5 years, you buy 4. You do your entrepreneur thing, whatever. You get to be 50 years old. You've now got 4 free and clear properties. You can refi them. You can sell them. You get married. You can make one of them your kid's college fund, whatever you want. We don't even need 100. In fact, when I go talk now, I talk about 4 and 10. I don't ever talk about 100. It's 4 or 10. That's enough. And oh, by the way, anybody that talks to you about having thousands of units and billions of dollars under assets under management, AUM, that's a crock of shit. These people that talk about I own 5,000 units, they own like 3% or 1%.
Right.
And oh, by the way, a lot of them are going to go bust, man. There was a deal in Houston, Texas, 3,200 units, 3,200 units, $270 million. They just lost the building to foreclosure in 1 year. They burned $90 million in investor capital. And the operator flew to India so he can't be sued. These freaking general partners are criminals. It's going to be bad.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah, and that's I like your strategy. I like Cody and Christian's strategy because it's very relationship based, where we're not syndicating stuff. It's very relationship based,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that. I love that because that's what I've come to know and enjoy just in the real estate game in general. So, when you first got started, was syndication a thing, or is that something that's been, it's kind of like a new age?
It's always been around. It's always been around. I was an accredited investor years ago. It just wasn't as common.
Okay.
I think I wrote about it in my book. It may have happened right after it. I get invited to speak at meetups all the time. And I remember a San Jose meetup. It's Silicon Valley. I went to a meetup, talk about one rental at a time. This was right after the book came out. So probably 2018, maybe early 19. And one of the things I do is I ask questions at the end of the meeting. And this group probably had 50 or 60 people there. I swear 30 of them were brand new syndicators. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be so. These have no experience. They're doing all. And again, just talk about that Houston example. They burn $90 million in a year, and then they run away to a foreign country so they don't get sued or whatever happens.
Right.
It's going to be bad. It's just going to be so bad.
So and for anyone who's watching who's maybe not in the real estate thing, can you explain why that is, why it's going to be bad, and why these guys are screwed?
Yeah, so I talked about it on my daily financial news. So let's talk about this building in Houston, Texas. 3,200 units. We own 3,200 units. So you buy it. It's a $300 million package. Okay, it's $300 million bucks. The bank comes in for 210. That means you have to raise equity of 90 million. Well, if you don't make your mortgage payments because you're not collecting enough rent, the bank forecloses. The bank foreclosed on their 210 loan. They sold it for 196. So the bank took a $14 million haircut. The 90 million, which is all equity, all investors, lost 100% of their money.
Oh man. Good.
Yeah, and that's going to happen over and over and over again because syndication is a hard business. But the last 2 years, the lending structure, the assumptions, the cap rate have all been crazy. A lot of these deals done the last year and a half, their only answer is foreclosure. It's bad, just bad. I see these things. I've been an accredited investor for 12 years. I saw this nonsense. I didn't see this deal in Houston, but I see deals like it. And there's going to be a lot more of these blowups. The banks are going to be fine. They're going to take little haircuts, but the equity, gone.
Goodness gracious. So what would you recommend, say, someone's getting into it, knowing what you know now, everything you've seen, your experience, how would you recommend?
It doesn't change, dude. It doesn't change. Go get a buy box, look at it every day, understand average. It takes time. Stop looking for get rich quick. You won't know average for 90 days. Then only write great deals. It's that simple. Stop looking for shortcuts. Stop looking for the easy button. The first 5 years of investing suck because it's slow. And just stop bitching and get to work.
Yeah. Love it, dude. Love it. And so remind me again, what age were you when you started?
I didn't buy my first rent until I was 30.
And you were married at that point, right? So
Yeah, married with a kid. Yep.
Man, so you guys just tag teamed it. How did you get your wife on board? I thought you mentioned it maybe in the book.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
We talked about it a lot. We basically what we had to figure out, because we were both working, right, crazy hours and raising a daughter. And when we got started, it wasn't about financial freedom, FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early wasn't a thing. We just wanted 4 rentals to have a better retirement at 65. That was the extent of our dream. We're going to get to 4. It might take us 10 years. We'll figure it out. And, obviously the story turned out quite differently. But the reason it worked for us is I found deals and secured capital, and Olivia did the books. So we had clear delineation of work and effort. And then we talked every Saturday. I think that was a missing piece I don't talk about enough, is every Saturday we'd go to lunch. I would tell her what I was seeing. She would tell me about the books, so we could stay up to date and keep going. So that's how it worked. It's not about everybody doing the same thing. I just had a question on my live stream. How do I want my wife to do my work with me. No, you don't. Divide and conquer, right? You do your thing, she does her thing, and then come together once a week and touch base. Have it be a date night or whatever it is. So that's how you should do it.
That's pretty cool. That's so it's so funny. So I have a girlfriend of a year right now, a little over a year, and we're planning to get married soon, whatever. But that's something that I'm working on. Is I never understood this saying, happy wife, happy life, and now I'm realizing it makes a lot more sense.
Oh, it's a thing, my friend. It's definitely a thing.
So it's interesting to me, but I mean, that makes a lot of sense, not just tackling the same job, but assigning different things. Do you feel like that maybe, I know we're kind of getting away from real estate, but do you think that strengthened your guys' relationship and marriage overall?
It was the communication. Communication is the key. Allowing the other person to speak. I think a lot of guys, again, I can only speak for my side of the equation. We sometimes try to rush it. We try to force things, and women sometimes get there slower or differently or around. Our brains work different, right? We see a problem, we hit it,
right?
And they just operate at a different speed. One might argue a better speed, but regardless, it's certainly different. So just appreciate that. And the strength of any relationship is based on how comfortable you are communicating.
Mm.
And then lastly, never forget that bad news doesn't get better with time, right? So make sure you talk about the bad stuff.
Oh my goodness, that's good. What was it? Bad news doesn't get better.
Yeah, bad news doesn't get better with time.
Oh my goodness, that's really good. So like the whole "don't go to sleep angry" type of thing.
Yeah, dude, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Dang. So Zuber, moving forward, you seem like you're branded really well. Every time I see some of your stuff, one rental at a time. So now you're going into more of this education phase. What do you fear most heading into this phase of education and kind of this new season of your career?
Thankfully, I don't fear anything because I don't need it, right? There's a lot of people out there that want to become a guru, and they get these crazy operational overhead, and they have look at Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin's a great example. Somebody told me that Meet Kevin needs to sell $12,000 a day to break even. 12 grand a day.
Holy crap! Just because of his overhead and
Yeah, his
everything.
overhead. So guess what? I have zero overhead. I have an office. So I shouldn't say zero. My overhead for a month is 2 grand. I did buy an office because my wife didn't want me doing it at home. So my overhead is 2 grand a month, and it's a very different game. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm giving. Sure, it's working, but I'm not going to add. I will never have employees. I have no interest in being the biggest, baddest, anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my thing, and I'm going to be okay with that. So it's a very different mindset. And it's so comfortable. I know
You look.
what I do works. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, it's cool because when I meet with other investors or people like yourself, it's so awesome to learn more about your guys' story because it helps young people like myself to articulate where we want to go. And
Good.
so it's just super powerful. I know we're heading into kind of a crazy economic situation. There's a lot of politics and world crap going on right now. I mean, does it change your investing strategy at all?
I get super excited. So this is my third, let's call it what it is, recession. And the first one kicked my ass, right? I lost 80% of what I had going into it. The second one, I made 10 million bucks plus. The third one, I'm going to make more. I do the work every day. I've looked at my market every day for 20 years. I have relationships. I have the ability to raise millions of dollars. I think what's coming up is going to reward the people that do the work. That's why I wear this damn hat. Do the work means something. I think the last 2 years, like when I flipped 56 properties or whatever it was ridiculously easy. Any moron could do it. The next 2 years, hard.
Mm-hmm.
I like hard. I like good operators winning and the lucky getting smashed. So I'm gonna enjoy it, and it's gonna be amazing.
That is awesome. And again, just so because I'm trying to understand, that's just because a lot of these lucky new investors, syndicators are just leveraging too much bad debt.
Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. The only thing that saved them was money was free.
Mm.
Most of my career, money wasn't free.
Mm. What do you mean by that? Money's free.
Interest rates are zero. You could borrow capital at nearly nothing. So when you can borrow capital at 1%, you don't have to be a very good investor. It's not hard to get better than 1%. But now the treasury's at 5% or 4% or whatever it is, which means if you're going to borrow capital, you got to probably pay 8 or 9 or 10%. These morons have never had to find a deal that works over that. I borrowed money at 12%.
Yeah.
So I like my chances.
Yeah. That is awesome. And so what does your buy box?
So my buy box today is what I'm looking to do is I'm shopping where there's not a lot of competition. I'm trying to buy a luxury home, which I've never done before because luxury is damaged. I'm looking to start creating relationships in multifamily, given the pain we talked about earlier. But that's a long process. That's a slow burn. Those opportunities don't show up till Q4 or Q1 of next year, probably. But you've got to get ready for them. You've got to get your capital. You've got to get your equity in place. And of course, I will buy every cash flow home that I can find. So yeah, I did 2 deals at the end of the year because the crash bros drive me crazy. Made 90 grand on them just because they pissed me off. So, I can do those things when I get annoyed.
That's awesome. And so you're looking at both single and multi, right?
Yeah, pretty much all the time. I put everything in the same spreadsheet. I buy the best deal, whatever's the highest yield or cash on cash. So
okay, nice. Yeah. And you don't have any employees sourcing all that. That's all you, all your own.
All me. That's it. Just me. No overhead except a building that I ended up having to rent, so I don't wake her up in the morning.
And then any other books on the horizon you think, or in the future?
No, I mean, yeah, I imagine there'll be a third book at some time, but not in the near future. No, I need writing. Writing's hard for me, man. Damn, writing's hard.
Uh, it's like a school project. It's like a freaking
Yeah, yes, exactly.
funny.
I'm not a good student. No, not a good student.
That's funny. So now that you said 180, 130,
80.
180 units. Holy piss, man. So at 180 units, I got to imagine you don't need to, one more deal, cash flowing deal is not going to change your income stream a whole ton. So does your investments from this point on, does it have to make like great financial sense? Like, holy crap, this is a steal for me to pull the trigger? Or is it like, this will make a
No,
couple $100 a month, I'll pull the trigger?
no, it doesn't have to be. It just needs to be a great deal, and a great deal changes all the time. I'm looking for 10% today, given the cost of capital is higher. But no, I'll buy all the ones that I can find. That's the beauty of being a real estate investor. You can start when you're 18, and you can do it when you're 80, right? One of the stories in my second book, 15 Conversations with Real Estate Millionaires, is a lady who was 75, right? That story meant a lot to me, right? We hear a lot of folks early in, but I thought it was important to get someone, talk to somebody at the other end of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, real estate investing is not age specific. So I why would I stop? I have everything. I've been now. Am I as aggressive as I hungry? Of course not.
Yeah.
But I still do a deal or two every year.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. And how much are you posting? Because I see your content all the time. You're posting quite a bit on Instagram. You're on YouTube. What else are you posting on?
So I post on YouTube, right? I do original content. I do a daily show, and then I talk to millionaires every week, and then my team will slice and dice. So I don't really post on the others, but I have somebody that does that, right? So I pay a guy to create the thumbnail and stuff. So that's part of my $2,000 overhead. Somebody does, because I'm not an artist. I don't edit any of my videos. I hit record and stop and upload. I'm out. It's all simple, man. It's just all simple.
I love that, man. Because Zuber, can I ask, how old are you?
I'm almost 51.
So almost 51. And it's just amazing to me. So I live in Southern Arizona, and my town backs up to Green Valley, which is all retired community. And it's so funny because you hear, and in no way am I, referencing your age to retired community, but I'm just saying that kind of demographic of age, they always kind of like complain or, can't seem to figure out social media or branding or anything like that. And I'm like, man, there's plenty of people who are doing, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It's just, to me, it's like they just don't want to learn.
Yeah, no, they're stuck in their ways.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say, so I just got done with a month-long, I don't even call it vacation, right? For most of you, it would be a month-long vacation. For me, it's a trip. We just spent a month in Southeast Asia because I can. And what was interesting to me is, again, when you go for a month, there's not a lot of 22-year-olds on that, right? So typically people on these month-long trips, they're 60, they're 70, they're 80 years old. Mm. And dude, I got to tell you, it's a lot more enjoyable at 50 than it was 80. They can't move. They're in wheelchairs or whatnot. I'm like, man, I am so glad we did this real estate thing 20 years ago. Right. So we can be done earlier and have options. So get after it. Again, if you start at 20, man, you could be done by 30.
Yeah.
Just crazy to think about.
It really is. And that, at least, that's my personal goal. I look at Cody and Christian, and they're just freaking crushing it, But then, Cody's a freaking wizard, so his brain is just
operates at a different speed. Yeah,
he just operates at a different level. So learning from him has been freaking awesome. But yeah, his study, they're just so intense. So they're really well off, mm-hmm. And they're doing awesome. But even again, we go back to, it doesn't have to be that much, right? You could do 4 to 10 rentals.
Done.
Most of you are in the top 1% of
easy
American.
Yeah, most people can live on $3 or $4 grand a month. And if you
easy.
If you do the whole rice and beans thing, it's maybe 2,800, $3 grand. You get that off 10 rentals and be done. Yeah.
Right. That's funny. Have you initiated, because I've always been interested with people with larger portfolios. Have you initiated like a debt snowball where you're taking cash flow to pay off smaller properties, or do you just buy your long-term debt and hold?
No, again, we have, So we do have a couple of things that are free and clear. I call it my oh shit pile. But no, we've got most of our debt sub 4%. So I'm not in a rush to pay that off.
Yeah. And then it's just securing long-term debt is the goal.
Always.
Okay. I've always been interested with that because, you know, like I would imagine at some point you got to start thinking about like, holy crap, you know, because you know, mentors and investors I know of who are much older, right? They're in their 80s, you know, their thing, you know, their thing is, well, where does it go when I, you know, die? You know, and I've always been interested, like, man, does it make sense to try and like effectively pay all of that off by the time you die? You just hand it down to the next generation.
Hand it down, they get a, you know, stepped up basis at all cash flows. It'll be low LTV. In fact, well, I mean, I think I've said this. We'll probably sell half our portfolio when we get to be in our 60s, and then we'll keep the best of the best. And hey, that's our daughter's inheritance. So,
oh, that is pimp. Is it you only have one daughter?
Just one.
Yeah. Dang, is she into real estate at all or not really? No. She probably is sick of it growing up with you guys. Yep, I know how that goes. What does she do, your daughter?
She's an artist.
Oh, super cool.
Yeah.
Does she live where are you at?
I live
again?
in California. She's in New York.
Oh my goodness. Different sides of the dude, that's gotta be kind of tough, man. Like
she's 31, so she's an adult, right? She's older than you, so
yeah, but it's, you know,
it was tough the first year. It's now been 7 or 8 years, so it's not as hard.
That's cool, man. So does your wife still help you out, or is all the
Yeah, she still does the books, or she looks at them, not nearly as much as she used to, but
yeah.
Dang.
So what software and system do you guys use for
We use
the
software that the property management firm has, and then we have Excel, obviously, for some of our personal things, but nothing sophisticated.
Wow, that's amazing. So out of all of the 180 units, how many properties is that out of the 180?
I would have to guess. It's not how I count. Somewhere between 45 and 55 would be my guess.
Wow. And that's all in the same market, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Central Valley.
Yeah. Wow. Would you recommend, I can't remember if you hit on it in the book, but would you recommend investing out of state if you're a newer investor?
I think you've got to learn your market. I think too many new investors try to find the best market, and that's the mistake. The best market could be ruined by a dumb investor. You've got to learn the skill.
Right.
You got to do the work. You got to figure out how to learn. To me, investing is like a golf swing. The first time you pick up a golf club, it's uncomfortable. Well, go to the driving range and swing it 2,000 times.
Right.
You kind of get better at it. So it's not about the market. It's about becoming a better investor.
Yeah. And so when you say do the work, become a better investor, let's say someone's watching this for the first time. I mean, they have no idea what the heck you're talking about.
Get a buy box. Look at your buy box every day. Document what changes. Start to understand what you don't know and understand what an average yield is. And one thing I did a couple weeks ago is I did a 2-hour deep dive for 100 people just on the buy box, because that is step one. So you can find that on my, on Teachable for $47. If you want to go get 2 hours, get 5 case studies from other people, you got to watch that. But it all starts with the buy box. It is just a skill.
That's amazing, dude. Because that is what, you know, I do own my one triplex right now, and I'm looking to scale. And that was something, you know, that when I went to a meetup, when I found the property, one of the guys asked me, he said, you know, what are you looking for? And because I knew exactly what I wanted, I told him, and he said, dude, I'm literally working on something up the road. So we went and looked at it and I bought it. But if I didn't know that as a newer investor, you know, I would have been screwed. I would have been like,
don't be that good investor that says, I just want a deal. Oh my God, you're going to get taken advantage of.
So that you are absolutely 100% correct. And that, so could you, Zuber, explain what a buy box is for anyone who might?
Yeah, so a buy box is a set of conditions that allow you to produce a list of active listings. So this was my buy box in 2002. 93703. That's a zip code in the Central Valley. Single family home. So not condos, not apartments. 3 or 4 bedrooms. So not 2s, not 5s. Single story. 2-car garage between 1,250 and 1,750 square feet. The goal of your buy box is a criteria that produces 20 to 40 active listings. Not too many, not too few. And then you look at that every day and document what changes. That's your buy box.
That's amazing. Dang, you still remember. That's sick.
I looked at it every day for 3 years. It's worn in my brain. Dude, Fresno's got 1 million people. And I looked at one little spot for 3 years in a row. That's all I looked at.
Oh, that's amazing.
I got pretty good at that thing.
So what would you recommend then for, let's say, someone's starting in their backyard, so they're starting in their city, right? As far as the zip code that I choose and the size of home or, multifamily I'm looking at, what would you recommend? I mean, I know it's going to
do what you're comfortable with. And again, the first buy box is about learning the skill, right? Back to the golf analogy. You're learning the skill on the driving range. But once you've got it, you can take it to any golf course in the country. So what I chose 3 and 4 bedroom homes. Why? Because that's all I ever lived in. I didn't know anything else. I wasn't going to learn a condo because I hadn't lived in one. I wasn't going to learn an apartment. I hadn't lived in one. I never lived in a fourplex. So I chose what was most comfortable for me. Don't overthink it. Don't go based on what other people say. Oh, this is better than that. That's all horseshit. Jeez, just do you and be comfortable in your own skin.
I love that. What do you think about midterm rentals? I know that's something that's going crazy right now, especially in my market. A lot of my buddies. Is that?
I think midterm rentals is the answer to people who got burned and overpaid for Airbnb and VRBO properties. They tried to do it. They got in late. They bought the wrong quality. They furnished the properties. Then they're like, shit, I can't do long-term rentals because I got all this furniture. Let me try midterm. So it'll work for a little while. And, if you're in the right market with the right product, it can work. I know somebody that I've known for 5 or 6 years, Al. He's out in Sacramento, I think, Al Williams. He's been doing it for a long time. So it can work. But I think too many people are jumping around because they got burned with night lease. And now they're going to go to midterm. They just flat out overpaid. They didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. And from what I understand, Airbnb, VRBO, short-term stuff, that business model in and of itself is more like a hotel than a...
It's a bit, even the IRS thinks it's different. It's a business. Again, it's absolutely a business. It's a hospitality business. You want to know something I will never be in? I will never be in the fucking people suck. Why would I want to be in the hospitality business? Are you freaking kidding me?
That's tough. It's like the restaurant business. It's way too hard.
Too hard.
Way
too hard. Too hard.
So then so midterm's good. Figure out your buy box. I think that's probably the most important piece, honestly, for a newer investor is figuring out buy box and how to just simply underwrite properties conservatively.
It's all the buy box. All you're trying to figure out is what is an average deal in my buy box. So my average deal back in 2002 was 7%. Once I could tell Olivia, the average deal in 93703 is 7%. All I had to do was find a deal that made 9%. Only do great deals. But you can't do a great deal until you've done the work. Most of you don't want to do the work. You want somebody to sprinkle fucking unicorn dust on your head and tell you what a great deal is. That's not how this life works.
Right. You got to do the work. Yeah, I think before I found that triplex, I think I underwrote like 250 properties.
Good.
Box, yeah. Good. I still have that spreadsheet today.
Good. Most people stop at 25.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. And you feel like you're doing something wrong. You're like, what the piss? Nothing maths out, But
do another
so
one.
what and for vacancy repairs and capex, because I've heard so many different things about how to, the gross rent to put aside for that.
So one of the things you're going to do is you're going to network with other investors in your market. There's other investors in your buy box. So ask them. You'll get vastly different answers between Ohio and Texas and Florida in the Central Valley. So every place is different. There is no right answer. But network, ask other investors. early on when you don't know, put 10% for vacancies and bad debt, put 10 or 15% for capital. You've got to treat everything the same, but you also have to realize what you don't know, and then you got to go figure it out. Like the first time you do it, you have no idea what property taxes are. Well, guess what? Pull out Google and go look it up. You don't know what insurance is. Great. Call an insurance agent. Go figure it out. So
I love it, bro. Your personality is freaking awesome. It's so great. I think you know, personally, man, it seems like people have just gone so soft. Just, I mean, so
you
soft.
said it,
I don't know if
not me. These fucking 8th trophies, man. God damn.
I mean, no, it is, you know, and the reality is that you look, you know, 22-year-old Kate is looking at Zuber being like, oh man, you know, I wish I had 180 units, you know, and then little behold, you know, there's freaking what, 3 decades of freaking just,
exactly.
right? And it's just like, you don't even
I didn't even
understand,
start till I was 30, dude. Come on,
right?
you got an 8-year head start. Jesus Christ.
Right? And it's so funny, man. It's so funny to me that, you know, young people will just look at someone like yourself and just, you know, and I don't think social media has necessarily helped in that degree. I mean, because then, right, you look at, oh my gosh, look at, you know, Zuber, he's making, you know, all this money, has all these rentals, and he's like, and it's just like, dude, you're seeing a video that has like 30 decades worth of freaking work behind it. Like it's, you know what I mean?
most people on social media are liars. Let's just be clear. Everybody posts their wins.
Right.
No.
Right.
Stop looking at the highlight reels. It's not that easy.
Oh man, that's awesome, brother. Well, dude, I do want to respect your time, and this has been awesome. So I really do appreciate it. And have you done lives before, or is this one?
My second one. I didn't even really know how to do it, so I'm glad it worked out.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's kind of like a podcast,
Yeah.
but it's live and it's just very laid back and chill. So I really do appreciate your
thank
time, though.
you for the opportunity. I get to say I've done one of these, so thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And best of luck kind of moving forward, you know, with the branding and the education. And I can tell you from an outsider looking in, you're doing a great job. So keep it up.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks. Take care.
Absolutely. You too.